Well, there were four middle-class guys from Roodepoort, now an award-winning band who has become a household name. Well, joining me on the couch, the Parlotones. So welcome to On the Couch, guys.
Thank you.
So you've actually been together for quite some time. People don't know that. You were actually known as the Crayon. So why, Khan, did it take you so long to get onto the commercial scene?
Well, I think when we started out, none of us could really play. All we had was a zip code that we shared, and we had a similar taste in music. And so, yeah, I think those sort of formative years were spent learning our craft, learning our instruments. And also, there wasn't really an established music scene. You know, we sort of just played wherever we could, birthday parties, 21st, you name it. We were sort of the go-to band. And it just took time to actually establish a name and to get popularity.
And when this became a reality, what did your parents say? Now, come on, guys, go and get a real job, you know, become a doctor or a lawyer or whatever it is in this country that our parents tell us.
They said that before it became a reality.
Yeah, I think they, you know, because there was no real success rock story when we were growing up, music certainly was seen as taboo, because either you heard of failed musicians, or people that were musicians were having to like slog it in cover bands, and they were in their 50s and they didn't really, you know, they weren't really making a living from it. So it was seen as sort of maybe try and do something a little safer, go and get a degree and go and get a proper job. Yeah.
And did you guys go out and do some safer jobs?
Yeah.
What were you before the Parlotones?
I was an IT guy.
Okay. And did you love that?
No. we did all the computers for dentists. That was my two worst things.
Gosh, from
fixing computers in dentist rooms.
Okay,
yeah.
to a rock band.
Yeah.
Glenn? What did you do before
a student.
Yeah?
I was
Studying what?
teaching.
Neil? A teacher? My goodness. Okay.
Your story is boring.
That's interesting. Sorry, Neil?
Mechanic.
A motor mechanic.
These skills are still useful though.
Stories.
You can still fix our cars and stuff like that.
Okay.
Not much I can do.
Multitask.
All I can do is tell people they have bad teeth.
Okay, so how did Parlotones then come about, Con?
Wait, you got to hear Khan's job though.
Okay, Con, what were you before?
I was a bored billionaire.
Oh,
but
right.
it became very boring, so I decided to
as it does, you know.
join a band.
Okay, all right, yeah. So Parlotones, how did that come about?
Well, it was the same four guys that were in Crayon. We didn't really like the name, so it was really just the name change. We carried on making the same music, carried on doing the same thing.
Right.
And yeah, it was just we like bands that started with the. We loved the Beatles, the Smiths, the Cure.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's where the element came from. And the Parlotones, Parlophone Records happened to sign the Beatles and Radiohead, two bands that we loved. So we sort of took that name, Parlophone, and morphed it slightly, and the Parlotones were born.
Was born, okay.
Had a nice ring to it.
And that was 2003 when you became professional, and then released your debut album in 2006, and then the name Beautiful actually created an opportunity for you to go to Europe and sign a deal. Tell us about that. Who wants to take this question? Glenn?
Have you been on Wikipedia recently? Just kidding.
No Wikipedia, no Wikipedia.
No, they use Beautiful as the sort of backtrack to a Fujifilm ad in Ireland, I think it was.
Yes.
And that in a way, I guess, sort of opened the door a little bit to our international sort of.
Was that your first experience on the international sort of stage?
Yes.
Yeah.
It certainly was a catalyst that made us believe that this sort of overwhelming dream of going international was possible. And the more we sort of stepped it or ventured abroad, the more we realized that it actually wasn't that difficult, that there was a market there, that people liked us, and we could keep returning to a bigger and bigger fan base.
Well, who is your fan base, other than South Africa? What's the biggest fan base globally, Con?
It's normally at a family braai. I'm joking.
Or a wedding.
I think outside of South Africa, and pretty close to South Africa, is probably Germany, Switzerland, Austria.
Right.
It's called the gas territories. Yeah. Parts of England we do really well. I mean, I always use this as an example. Our first show in London was to 30 people, and our last show in London was to 2,000. So it just shows you the the growth that we've had abroad. We're about to embark on our second American tour. Our first one went very well.
And it's now recent.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on being successful in the global markets? Does that segment your fan base and your successes here in South Africa, Paul?
It's a tough question. I think when we go overseas, obviously you start playing to smaller audiences. So you do appreciate when you come back to South Africa and you're playing to full crowds and everyone's singing along and everything. So it kind of gives you a bit of perspective on the world and sort of that you've still got a long journey ahead of you, and it keeps the fire inside. Like, you can get to a point in South Africa where you're like, okay, the show will sell out, people will love us, everything's going well, everything's great. And you can just become complacent there, but when you go to America and you're opening for a band on a little stage this big,
it brings you down to earth, doesn't it?
Yeah, it keeps you humble and grounded.
All over again.
So, and that's funnily enough, I was watching an interview with Biffy Clyro on some webcasting, and they're huge in Europe, and they went to America and they had the exact same question put to them. It's like, how does it feel coming here playing to small little crowds? And they said the same thing. Keeps you hungry to win those people over.
Which is a good thing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right?
Well, not literally to be starving.
Sometimes it does keep you literally hungry.
So like any family, I'm sure there must be arguments, disagreements. Don't tell me that you just yay, nay, everyone everyone else says. So how do you deal, let's ask Neil, because he's been very quiet. Let's ask you, how do you guys deal with arguments or disagreements within the group?
Well, you've seen his arms.
Yeah, that's how I work. But I mean, I think Paul and Glenn are pretty quiet and happy-go-lucky. I think the arguments pretty much become between Khan and myself.
Or Neil and our sound guy.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
the biggest
And
friction.
What do you argue about?
Sometimes it's small things, but it's not really between us. It might be about management or about something that I don't know, and I think he should have told me, and I get upset, and then we start fighting. But it literally lasts about 5 minutes, and you come back and you pretend nothing's wrong, and drink together again.
Pretend nothing's wrong.
Yeah, but that type of
We're not like girls where we have to talk everything out and talk about our feelings. And
we've never really come to fist fights or major arguments where we don't speak for a day or a week. We literally do. 5 minutes later, it's done.
Just like a real family. You sit down, you talk about you move on.
It's like, shut up, have a beer. And
it's over. But guys are easy like that, isn't it?
We're keeping everything inside until one day it's just going to blow up. And we're going to kill each other.
Oh dear. Well, let's hope that won't happen, please. So take us through the dynamics within your team or within your band. Who's the party animal? Who's the business brain? Who's the easy-go-lucky? Give us a glimpse of who's who, Khan.
Khan so far, yeah.
Well, that brings me to another question before you answer that. I mean, okay, so you're the frontman, okay? It seems like you are always the one in the spotlight. How do you guys feel about that?
Are you talking to us?
Are you happy?
Wow.
Are you happy for him always to be in the spotlight? Or are you kind of going, you know, I'm also part of the band here?
If you guys answer that, you will be in trouble.
Seriously,
no,
how do you
I don't
guys
mind
feel?
because it's, I mean, any band that you know, it's always the singer who's the face and the
Bono,
voice of the band.
yeah.
Bono and Tom York or Bruce Springsteen.
So it just kind of comes
Chris
with the
Martin,
territory.
yeah, Harry McBride.
Glenn, are you happy to share the stage with?
I'm happy because Khan gets the majority of the work.
Yeah.
So
At the end of the
we
day,
get to relax.
the voice is the.
Except for Fallout Boy.
Yeah, he's a good-looking guy.
Yeah, the pretty one. Yeah.
But yeah, Khan is. I think the singer is the voice of the band. You know, and obviously the people listen to him. They sing along.
And you're happy for
that's
him
how
to do
it
all
is.
the interviews and
Yeah.
talk to the media?
It's like we do one interview a month and he does like 50 a day.
How do you feel about that?
She's actually asking my
It's kind of like you just resume that role, don't you?
Yeah, I think you sort of, like they say, generally the singer is seen as the voice of the band. So you voluntary or involuntarily you assume the position of spokesperson. And yeah, I mean, I didn't write the rules. I guess I just followed, how it's been for decades.
The funny thing is though, as soon as you become a band at a certain level of public awareness, suddenly you have to be a politician and a preacher and a philosopher, and like you have to have all these answers, but a
Don't
guy
always want
singing.
to get
you know.
involved in it.
We can
What do
tell
you
you how to
think?
go from G to C, but whether
But
the
that's it,
macro
stick to
and
what you know.
microeconomic policies of
But stick to what you know. What are your feelings on Bono and this whole, you know, he gets politically involved with every country and trying to save the world? I mean,
well, I
what do you
think I'm not going to condemn him because I think ultimately that's who he is as a person. I think that he's very passionate about economics, very passionate about, you know, his involvement in politics, and you know, if someone asked Glenn about poker and golf, I'm sure he'd be very passionate about answering that because that's what he loves. Right. So to condemn Bono for talking about what he loves would be incorrect. He loves music. I mean, we're not an island. No one's an island. There's many facets to a person. You don't just have a passion for one thing. You know, maybe the fact that we're not passionate about politics and economics means we're not necessarily going to shoot our mouths off about it. But if someone is, then that's who they are as a person.
Good for them, good for them. We need to take a break, but stay with us for more with the Parlotones.